Our next question comes from Ralph Bond with Autodesk. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Ralph with Autodesk, as mentioned before. My question is rather USA, Canada specific, but one of the things we're wrestling with is we need some advice on how to appropriately reach out to bloggers that cover certain industry segments that our country has products for without, I look for the right words, without insulting them. I think there's a blogger culture that's sort of adverse to having companies approach them. Have you seen that, and do you have any advice on how to tactfully and gracefully approach a blogger?
I think the entire panel would have opinions on that one, but I'll pass that one over to Monty.
Great. Yeah, this is Monty here in D.C. Absolutely. I mean, I like to say bloggers are people too, and it's really when you look at approaching bloggers, I think you have to look at it from there's definitely some do's and don'ts. Bloggers, most of whom are write about 5 or fewer issues. They're very interested in specific subset of issues, and the reason why they're blogging is they're trying to get their voice out on a particular issue, and talk about a particular issue and be recognized as an expert or at least a voice in that issue. And so talking to them, one, making sure that you're addressing the right people, that you're reading the blogs, that you're able to understand what they're writing about, and then just directly engage them. I mean, openly and transparently saying, here's who I am. If you have questions about this particular issue, I'm happy to answer them. Really offering to be a resource for information, because really what they're wanting to write about and talk about, if you're able to provide that information, you're going to be very, very helpful to them. But not adding them to media lists, not blasting bloggers, but we call it kind of crawl, walk, run in terms of looking at any client, how you're going to be engaging online, and first really understanding, making sure that you're online, you have the understanding of the conversation, who's talking about it, who the influencers are, what they're saying, then looking at having the content so that you can share something, you have good information to talk about, and then next looking at blogger engagement, where you actually have something that you can offer to people and engage in that conversation back and forth, and it's beneficial for both parties. And then finally, after that, then really thinking about creating your own blog or inviting bloggers into your own community through social networks, through blogger tours and things like that. But it's a slow start, and really just engaging. And every blogger is different. Every blogger is individual, and just treating them on a kind of one-to-one relationship and really fostering that relationship over time.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes we see companies make is that they have a press release, or they have a product announcement, or they have an event that they would like to reach out to bloggers for, and that is the first contact they ever make with those bloggers, and that is a mistake. I mean, our feeling is that you need to develop relationships first, and once you develop those relationships, then you can begin to bring those people under the tent and have a meaningful relationship.
The only thing I'll add to that is participation. They need to see that you use the stuff, that you're there, Otherwise, that's when you'll have the most relevant, is they actually know that you have a blog or commenting or on Twitter, etc.
Okay, next question, please.
And as a reminder, if you would like to queue up to ask a question, please press the star and 1 on your touch-tone phone now. We'll allow just a moment for any additional questions to queue. We'll take our next question from the site of Derek Creevy with Edelman. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. It's Derek in Edelman in New York. Thanks for your insights today. Does any of the panelists have examples of companies, bearing in mind that obviously there's some client confidential information, but companies that have been effective in running an international social media engagement program, or heck, those who have not been effective, and lessons we've gathered from that?
Wolfgang, would you like to take that one?
Global brands tend to do things globally, but and for example, a company, a lot of us are working for like Unilever, for example. Dove, normally the soap brand Dove normally has a global approach to all the social media stuff, but they are doing it right to do the engagement part on a local on a local basis, because normally when they try to reach out to people or when they try to connect to people, they need to connect to people in a in a real language-driven, I only can say it again, language-driven thing, and to carefully look for the places where people they want to connect to really live and really want to talk. And another thing is a global brand. Some of us are working for might be Xbox. Maybe Marshall can say something about that.
Thanks, Wolfgang. I was sort of thinking about the Halo 3 launch, which we worked on and involved lots and lots of markets around the globe, and a great deal of social media work. But what's interesting to me about the question and about the outcome even of these examples that we're talking about, and really any of the others that I can think of, are that I think they really bring to life the point that we've been making, which is that even in the context of Halo 3, where we did have a sort of broad global strategy of engagement and conversation and a sort of movie premiere kind of approach, the reality was that the implementation was done with a lot of sensitivity to local conditions, local languages, what was the right social network to be in this particular place. So at the strategic level, we were thinking globally, but at the tactical and implementation level, we were thinking, as we said before, sort of hyper-locally about who are the right people to be engaged with, who do we need to have relationships with, and all the rest of the questions that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I'd say it's John here. If I think about a leader in terms of social media engagement, and I think engagement's the key word here, Dell really stands out in many ways. The challenges they had in the US a couple of years ago were even more marked in China, where they were going through the Dell Hell issue. And I think the way in which they've rolled out the Dell blog there, the way they've rolled out IdeaStorm's now gone into Japan as well. The way in which they're doing social media from an engagement perspective, I think, is leading world class. There's a lot of firms that do digital, and I think of a company like Intel that does things like Silicon Commander across the globe. There's games, there are sites, there is information. But I think the key thing that that we're starting to see more and more these days is the desire for direct engagement. And I think that desire is a combination of top down, coming from global headquarters down, but so local. So when I think about Singapore, I'm seeing big local Asian brands in places like Singapore, Japan, China, looking at social media as a way of solidifying their regional footprint or extending their global footprint. So I guess what I'm saying there is that there are a lot of traditional Western brands doing digital. There needs to be more engagement. But in many ways, I see a lot of the great social media engagement work coming up from local brands.
Okay, thanks, John.